Welcome back, guys, to the Wise Up TV, where we are having the club rooms tonight with all our members, and it's great to have everyone in and finding their way into the door and coming in to hang out. Grateful for all of our members, channel members here at Wise Up TV, and yeah, we're just looking forward to breaking down the Raiders game, getting a lot of your guys' thoughts, and really kind of diving into it a little bit. But great to have everyone in the chat coming through. T Mackie, um, Austin. Good, bro. Yeah, and a physical game, guys. I just started watching my rewatch. I've watched the first 20 minutes and it is a physical. Hey, Josh, brother, good to see you, man. And it was a physical battle. And love to hear more of your guys' thoughts. Team Mackie, if you were at the game, Josh, I'm no doubt you were there. Um, from what I'm watching, take the result out of it. These were two teams that really threw it a lot at each other. I'm watching it back now and realizing how intense and physical the game was. And I'll probably start first in acknowledging Canberra in terms of um, their physicality. They brought an energy and physicality that that from what I'm watching and rewatching, it's about hard when you're doing a watch along. You're kind of commentating, you're doing the chat, you're trying to gather your thoughts. But for what I'm seeing, and I'm seeing you guys here talking about the Raiders being dirty, throwing penny punches. I think the Raiders, what they tried to do was out physical us and out muscle us, and try and rattle us. And I think there's a benefit to that, especially in this part of the season, that we need to address um, that and be prepared for if we're going into the finals. If we see them again, that we most likely will have to come up to against them as well. Um, I think we just they really came and shut a lot of things down. And you're probably thinking, why was the attack not clicking? Well, there just wasn't much available. There was a play where the Warriors were on their goal line and they went left about 4 times. And that play, usually what it does is that sequence of plays, it draws defenders in and it keeps pulling defenders in until you get an overlap. You could even run a block shape right on the edge, 5 meters out from the try line either side, and you'll get over the line usually. But the Raiders really manned it up and had the numbers and had the timing, the movement. The movement of the defense was really good. Physically, they confronted us at the point at the advantage line, and making sure that every head up was tough. They drove us back. They were physical about the game. Tapine was really in there. You could see. But what I love from us, and it's not diminishing our boys. We took them right to the end, and really physical. Like we were battling. It wasn't like we were inferior, or I'm feeling like these were two teams battling, and the other team were just a little bit sharper, just a little bit more able to create in the right times. And that was it for me, the majority. And and for me, this game wasn't a bad game on our behalf. In fact, it was a good game to learn from. But let me get into the chat. Ref was against us all night, tapping through some. Yep, I can understand that too. I can understand the physicality of it, and also that I give a lot of reps to our boys like the Liquor. He handled it. He was, they were really working hard on him. All of our boys did a shift, but that was definitely part of their game plan. I totally get what you're saying. This game was lost in the 10 minutes when we had the man advantage in the first half. We really should have put them away. As I was doing the watch along team, that was evident to me that we bombed that 10 minutes. We had that ball on the goal line. I think Roger took the ball out. It was a bad pass. They went and countered and scored a try, which I thought Dallin was poor. He should have shut down Seb Chris. So there were some errors on our behalf. Yeah, and we kind of lost the game in that period. That's a very real comment there. Real though, the game was tough. I reckon we played better than we should have. I agree, Josh. Yeah, but be the dogfighters of the. But we should be the dogfighters of this comp. Yeah, I'm looking at it and I'm like, perfectly fine for me that the way we handled it with our young pups in the match too. And you just give credit to some of their forwards that they got a tough forward pack. RTS was massive. We needed every ounce of yardage from him. Um, I thought for the majority, CHT and Metcalf called the game right. They didn't overplay their hand too much. It was one of those games just there weren't going to be too many openings, especially with the weather. Um, you don't want to play too expensive. So, it's one of those types of things. And I think people overstate probably, the lack of points. It is, I mean, I'm sure it's something we want to develop and improve and to be a bit more clinical on our goal line. I think specifically goal line, I'm not sure if it was Dom or someone who told me, but our goal line attack is one of the lowest in the comp. If that is true, then sure, we need to work on some of that as a work on and a development type thing. But uh, from a physical standpoint, it was a great matchup and something we should bank in terms of saying let's build off of this. We know if we're going to come up against the Raiders or the better teams, look, you can outmuscle the um, teams like Manly that love to be attacking, but at the end of the day, we can grind them down and break them down into their parts, and we can beat them because we've got toughness and grittiness. What Canberra's showing you though is that they've got a bit of that toughness and grittiness too. That Ricky said, "Hey, tonight, boys, it's going to be low scoring. It's going to be a grind fest, and we're going to write." And they showed that they can do it. That for me is you're trying to beat that bar. You're trying to prepare for that bar where teams like Raiders and Storm you want to build towards being able to go into a grind with them and get to that point in the finals where you can outgrind them. Just quickly on that game, 2011 prelim with the Storm. The key to that game with what Cleary was trying to do was outgrind them. And then you had a little bit of class from SJ at the end to get us over the line. But if you think of that game itself, it was a low scoring game. And what I took away from that game when I watched it, what was that 14 years ago now? Far out. We outmuscled them. We outgrinded the Storm specifically, who are the grinders of all grinders, for lack of a better term. So I think we are in that ballpark. Bulldogs will be another great game to see how we muscle up against them. Those are the teams you're starting to really look at. How far can you go in a grind fest where it's set for set? Like this game here was set for set. And look, that's where you want to be while developing your attacking flow. We totally got rattled, especially with mana from Fish and Barnett. Yeah, yeah. There's a few gaps. I mean, I'm looking at Bunty and thinking didn't quite have it. That's right. He's the backup guy. Um, hey, we all have our our ways of doing things. Um, yeah, they would have let that one go, Mackie. You're right. Thank you as always, Tony, man, and Jazz, our moderators. Thank you for coming through, man. Absolutely awesome. Jackson Ford was great. Yeah, I enjoyed when Jackson came on as well. Thought he was fantastic. We outmuscled the Sticky's game plan. We held them as best as we could. But we couldn't score points. It's been a problem every week. And I know Dom, you've been very high on this, the lack of points in structure, and I get it. I totally get it. Um, it's definitely a develop. It's a work on. It's something that needs to be looked at as a total type thing. And that isn't a direction at the halves particularly, but it's looking at how we break teams down, especially goal line. I'd probably say, look, we're just not as expansive as what we were in previous years, and the problem with a lot of what 2024, even though we were quite expensive, why it didn't work at times was because we couldn't earn the right to do that through the middle as well. So it's a really tough balancing point, but it's something that when you get in tight games, like my thought from last night was, look, if you're going to play a tight game, there's going to have games like this where you're just going to get pipped, and if you're struggling to score points at times throughout the game, yeah, you play that way, it will come back to bite you in certain games. For the majority, we've shown that we can deal with a lot of teams keeping it a low scoring affair. But a team like Canberra, they can say, "Oh, well, we'll get the lead and then we'll shut you down," you know. But that can probably lead back to the point where sometimes we're taking the 2 points. I don't agree with it. Great point from Jay Rose last night was we seem to have the momentum and then we take the 2 points. It's like a massive let off. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, it was a game where Josh, yeah, it was a tough game for him, but there weren't many openings. That's why I gotta give a big shout out to Canberra. They put the hammer down, man. They really made us physically. Hunter Poi, great to welcome you, my friend. Triple H, should we say Hunter Hurst Helmsley? No, but welcome in. Thank you, Hunter, for becoming a channel member, and looking forward to hearing your comments as well. Agreed. Again, I know I'm talking up Canberra, but on the same extent, we matched them physically, and we were within a whisker of winning the game. So it's definitely one of those things. I think Dallin has been really poor this year, offering way less than what we need. 79 meters. Yeah, it's a concern. It is a concern. He's not able to impact the game as much as what he has been. I think there's an element of probably Dallin not being used enough as a finisher. We're seeing the right side shape is near non-existent at this moment, and he's not getting those touches that he was 2023. So if he's not scoring tries, what is he doing? We need more from him defensively, yardage wise, to help the boys throughout the game. And you could probably argue that he has been poor. Let's call it what it is. And even with the Tane Tuopiki, um, Tane has been a bit more active and able to find himself getting involved in the game in different facets. But you're banking on the fact that you can get Dallin rounded out and get the best out of him. But at the moment, it just isn't looking quite like that. Kia ora again, Hunter. Yeah, better time. Agreed. This is a straight game where DW has run for less than 100 meters. I had this argument that how we were building our sets, the right side of winger or one of the wingers doesn't get involved as much as what it used to be. It's kind of interesting. The yardage carries are a little bit different this year, and I was kind of seeing a pattern where um, I was seeing a pattern where intentionally they weren't using Dallin for yardage carries, and I was wondering why that was. I suppose if you look at it technically, we're still getting pretty good yardage numbers. It just isn't happening with him involved in it. CNK's taking quite a few carries. I was thinking, is that kind of a preservation type idea behind it, or is it a kick pressure type thing where I can't quite figure it out, but it's noticeable that Dallin's carrying less out of yardage. Although in the second half, I thought he picked up a bit more. But I noticed specifically in the Dolphins game that he just wasn't getting involved, and I thought it was intentional from Webby. I can't quite explain it, but if anyone has an idea of that, yeah, yeah, man. Welcome to the new crew. It's great to have you in here, Hunter. Man, absolutely awesome. Doggies will fall off now, trying to. Yeah, I mean that plays in the background, and that's where we got to be consistent. You know what I mean? We got to just stick to our game plan, and if the dogs fall off, that's great for us too. GT saying we play pretty good. The only problem we have is definitely our goal line attack. Can we please just run an organized play on the fourth? If we don't score, then at least we have the fifth to put up a kick. I get what you're saying. There's some disjointed play where, when we're setting up attack, we're kind of not. At times, we're losing our way in the set. And saying that hasn't always been the case. I think there's definitely some tries that we've scored this year and how we've attacked on the goal line. It's clear the intention of why we're going and why we're doing it. When you get frustrated a little bit, see, one thing I noticed with Canberra, Metcalf started to be a bit more active in terms of using his running game. If you're not getting those looks and the opportunities in terms of numbers and the line speed, You need to start looking for plan Bs a little bit. For me, Metcalf's plan B at the moment, at times, is just to run for himself or just try and find something around the ruck, cut back inside, which is good. But there are times in terms of developing as a half, you need to stick to the game plan. You need to stick to just keep kicking, keep putting the kick pressure on, making sure you're available for the fifth tackle option. A little few kicks in behind, grubbers in behind, use the wet weather, let the ball slide on the ground, those types of things. But in saying that, it was super tight. When I'm looking at the tape now, there's hardly any space out there, and that's credit to Canberra. Um, yeah, Laban was good. Adds variety. I definitely think Laban that's a good addition, um, as well. Do you think the conservative attack strategy is hindering Metcalf and CHT from breaking out? Taking the two instead of going for the try just creates a negative mindset, in my opinion. When they took the two, I think what I found with it was they, yeah, it is a little bit of a negative mindset. For me personally, I'd rather take 6 than take 2 to get out to 8. I think they eventually they got 2 and they went 6, so they made 8 in the end. But I'd rather bank the 6 first and get 2 after. That way, you know what I mean? Um, you wanna kind of show that you can score points and that you can build pressure and that you wanna leave a mental kinda scar, I suppose. Every time you score, it obviously leaves a mental, impact on the other team. I think they were a little bit negative, and that's probably a call from Webby, I'm thinking. You probably know it's gonna be a tight game, take the points when you can get them, but, this isn't rugby union. In rugby union, teams play very defensive. They take the 3 points and for the intent to be defensive throughout the rest of the game, so with NRL, there's just too much possession, even possession that you have to be able to score points, but I think they'll probably look on that and look at what, the reason for that is. Yeah, Egan's passing game wasn't great. It wasn't. It definitely wasn't. We should have taken the 2 after Horswell. We would have been 10-0 lead. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, the Pompey one was sloppy. That was really sloppy and poor. Once it got to 8 all, it was like game on, man. It was game on. And they knew it, and that's something for Ricky could have gone to halftime and said, um, yeah. The halves are still learning. Again, they played what they got, I thought. I thought Fogarty was fantastic in terms of his kicking game. Absolutely, um, nailed it. Hey, SMH, how you, my man? Um, prefer Pompey or Tuo Picky on wing when Berry comes back. Yeah, Pompey is definitely in the squad. Um, I think there's a lot of questions to be asked. RTS looks really good in the wing at the moment. I think he was very dynamic and kind of getting us yardage, got us a penalty, got us a set restart. Like, he's very, very active. So okay. So that could be right. That could be right as well. I'm just watching a little bit of stuff here with Metcalf as well on the goal line, and there's no lead runners. So there's again, I think Webby talked about guys not being in the right places at the right times. I'm thinking there's just guys that weren't understanding what the game plan on the goal line maybe was in terms of attack. Like, I'm just looking at Metcalf now, and there's no one running off of him. That type of thing. So there's when Webby made that comment in the presser, I thought, okay, there's obviously communication was a bit off, and guys weren't aware of what their roles were as well. Yeah, and they tried that again, and credit to the Raiders, they nailed that one. Um, they really nailed that one. Guys, just catching up on some of these comments. I'll just power through for a little bit. What RTS look threatening? Need to find a play that can bring him into the live, and yeah, just bring him in, drop him underneath a little bit more. I think that's where the halves need to probably look at a game plan. I think they're playing very direct. which is great. Um, Very high tempo and direct, but sometimes you need a little bit of like drawing defenders out, dropping guys underneath, change of tempo. SJ was so great at that, where he would just slow down his run and pick up. Adam Reynolds type, where they do a lot of that shape drop, and then play flat. So there's a lot for them to develop, and I think they're a good halves pairing. There's a lot for them to grow and kind of understand how to control the game. I think Fogarty and Strange. I mean, Strange didn't really do anything, but they can manage the game. It felt like they were in control more than so we were, which is kind of a credit to them. Boys are missing Barney out there. Can't easily replace that type of workhorse, even though Ford played a mean game. That's fair too. And it was great to see though how our depth looks. And yeah, it's great. Shout out to Ford. I thought he was immense. Yeah, we look so much more clunky and disorganized when Metcalf and TMM are both on the field at the same time. They both want to run the show. Yeah, there is a little bit of that. One thing I noticed though, when TMM came on, that was the first time Dallin kind of got a look out the back, and like he had no space, he threw it back in, and the play died. But I was just thinking, well, maybe TMM can be a benefit because he starts to open up other parts of the field. But there is definitely that clunkiness, and that's up to Webby to figure out. Do you want a TMM in there to kind of? You can probably see TMM overcalling at times, and Metcalf getting on the out the back shape more than what he is then on the ball. People will probably disagree. I know a lot of people they don't want a TMM getting in the way of a Metcalf, but there were some opportunities where the ball started to drift side to side a little bit, probably not square enough, but you could argue that was the first touch Dallin kind of got, and so something to think about for sure. But if we want to keep it as simple, if our game plan is keep it simple, yeah, you probably don't want TMM on there because he's got the enticement as a half. He's got to see, I can see something, but really it's Metcalf's team, kind of, you know what I mean? So that's kind of where they need to figure out how that's going to go. Yeah, he went straight over the top. It was a clothesline. They bounce off the ropes and clothesline over the top. Yeah. I think perhaps Webby is definitely being defensive to get everyone to make defensive patterns second nature and build tech later. Well, that's it for me. You nailed it on the head, Dom. For me, my biggest issue and gripe was last year was that we had no defensive patterns. We struggled to keep teams, scoring tries. The defense and structure this year is way better. That for me is going to be the building block or foundation to getting a good attack. As long as that defense keeps ticking over, you're going to win more games than you are going to lose any. So I think, for me personally, I think, yeah, we need to build off of that. You know what I mean? Hey, Chris, good. If I missed the game last night, was working. I saw scores. Sounds like it's nothing to really worry about. We'll listen in tonight. Yeah, again, for me, it wasn't a bad game. I, there's not much negative to take out of it. I thought two top four teams battling it out. One got on top. They nailed some moments better than us. That's really it at the end of the day. And Raiders had a number. They're physical. They're really physical. I think you're right about moving Liquor to the bench and bring Labour into starting. So he looked tired and dropped the ball a few times. Liquor is just. I think he's a young kid still. For me, he's still young. He's still developing. He's still trying to get his body attuned to the NRL and the physicality of it week to week, and he doesn't look out of place. This isn't a criticism of him when he's in the game. When he's in the game, he fights for every tackle. There's 4 guys tackling me every time. But you want to balance that out a bit to be able to get the best out of him later in the end of the season. We want a fresh Liquor if we're going to go into a finals run. If he's one of our X Factor players, we want a fresh Liquor. You know what I mean? My other argument too, though, was, well, if you really, pretty much, like, for lack of a better term, thrash him, work him like a workhorse and get him to play 80 every week, I'm thinking that he will break down towards the end of the year. But you've got to a really good 80-minute hooker, 80-minute back rower for start of next season, like a locked 80-minute. You know what you're going to get each time. So it's one of those catch-22s in many ways. I prefer giving Laban an opportunity because then that gives Laban a little bit more minutes as well and see what he can develop into. Because if Laban and Lecker might be your back row pairing for the future, you would like to see that at some point. But I do think he's dropping off a little bit, and it's just due to tiredness. It's just the body breaks down, the mental side, the drain of footy as a young player. Definitely. Yeah, that was funny too, Josh. That was absolutely funny. Yeah, I agree, man. There was some dodgy calls. RTS to right wing, Pompey to left, Rocco Ali centers. Could see that. Definitely. Sorry, guys, just powering through a little bit. I think I'm caught up. Cool. Raiders did their homework on Metcalf, rushed him all day from offside positions. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to be critical of Metcalf. There was no space. There was no space to do anything, whether they were offside or if they were onside. There was no open looks. That's why he was cutting back inside a lot because there was nothing outside there, and he was trying to find and generate. And credit to him, he was trying to generate an offense and attack for the team, because there just wasn't much happening. Loved it. I loved the physicality of it. Even I loved, I loved Tamale doing the mono over then, bro. I'm like, mate, do it, brother. Do it, brother. Let's see you in the final series. Let's get one back over him. This is how you build rivalries. This is how you know. This is, I think, is fantastic. You can tell when they broke out and did mono waves and Tapini was like cheering them. They felt for them that this was a massive game to prove to themselves that they're a legit team, and they nailed it. But we still got some in the tank. We didn't have Barney or Fish, so you're saying, cool, okay, you won today, but see who has the last laugh. That's how I see it. We come back with Barney and Fish. We meet them in a finals round back at Mount Smart again. Totally different energy, totally different vibe. So I think it's all good, bro. I love a bit of banter. I love a bit of grittiness, bit of dirtiness. I'm all for it, bro. I think the game's been cleansed too much. We need this. We need the biff. We need whatever we can get. Love it. As long as you give it back to him. Totally get it, Mel. Yep, and I respect that. I mean, for some, yeah, you want the game to be played in a good spirit. I understand that too. I think we tried to force our hand a little bit too much. We were chasing points, and against a good team defensively, we started, and that's where the drop balls started happening and those types of things. So we have too much damaging back rows and Marata and Lecker. So I understand playing Lecker for 80, turning him into a workman, and we'd be trying to turn Marata into middle. Yeah, I can understand it. For me, though, I would like a little bit more balance in it. Yep. I generally thought we'd win and look like we'd keep them scoreless at half time. Was a bit disappointed with the man down. We were the ones. I totally look back at this point and think we really screwed that up. We should have got more out of it. We should have got more out of that 10-minute period, and in fact, that it completely flipped. So, yeah, and Hunter, I totally agree with you. Big Raven kept throwing elbows and knees into each other throughout the game. Yeah, man. Like again, this is just one of those games where the Raiders came to fight, and Sticky, he's good at that. You know what he does? He motivates them. But our boys were not. We battled it out with them. Yeah. Both funny again. I love it. And see, when someone does it, it means a lot to them. So they showed their hand for me to saying they were really up for that. Okay, great. Now when we get Barney and Fish back, we'll see you in the finals series and see how you go then. So I think we've got a little bit more in the tank to give. I think, yeah, but credit to them. I also don't think we earned to right spread the ball in the second half. Needed to change the angle and have two right. If I was dropping back under, make the defense hesitate. Yeah, that's again just a little bit of detail, Josh. I totally agree with you. There was no space out wide that they had earned to do any of that shifting wide. What I think they should have done is exactly what you said: drop guys underneath, keep putting the pressure through the middle. I give them credit though; their middle was rock solid for the majority. Um, and yeah, they probably got away. I reckon they got away with another sin bin. Definitely the Tapine one and a few others. I think it deserves more for sure. But yeah, I think I definitely feel as though we should have been a bit more down. That's where I think the halves and their development and their processing, I understand that this is what you need to do. We need to break that middle down. How do you do that? Drop guys underneath, work around the ruck, try and get a bit of momentum, speed around the ruck, cut out past the Metcalf, drop someone CNK back through the middle. You just keep doing that until you can get that breakdown in the middle to earn that right outside. I think we went a little bit early. You're right, Josh. I think we went a little bit too early, too wide. Yeah, man, missing our captains, and that's a caveat that we have. Say, bro, we've got you in the next game with our captains back. Let's see how tough you are. Tapiti versus Fish, two best mates in the Kiwis, head to head. Love it, love it. Shows they respect us furious if they're doing stuff. Yes, when people do mana waves and want to give it back to the crowd, it shows for them it was massive, and that they respected us, and they looked highly upon us. Because you only do that when you beat a team that you think is better, or that you want to prove a point. So in their eyes, I think they held us very high in their regards, which is great for us. Absolutely. Yeah, it's got no issue with that. Yeah. Mate had the refs comms and noticed typing was in the refs ear all game long. Did any of you guys see the TikTok with Badger? I think Badger was doing a podcast, and he was talking about why Cam Smith was one of the best at talking to the refs. Cam Smith knew the times when to go to the ref, so he would talk to the ref after they scored a try and go in and talk sensibly or politically or whatever. I still think he was another official on the field, but Tapine you could see was intentional about getting in the ref's ear as much as possible. That is, like anything, if there's one person always talking and talking and talking in that person's ear, that leaves a mental imprint. I don't know if that's the psychology of it, I suppose. But he was fighting hard for it. Now, probably say maybe Catewell captain. We missed Fish and Barney to kind of get in the ref's ear as well. I mean, Tohu was always very good at that too, where he'd get in the ref's ear and say, "Hey, ref, come on," So maybe we missed Catewell was, technically captain on field, but we missed a bit of our leadership to battle that out. Sure, I can get that too. Loss sucks, but our 5-game win streak gives us insurance for this. Yes, we are still third and secure in fourth. Nothing really changes so long as we bounce straight back next week. Yeah, and son, I was actually, my big thing for this was as well was that I would love to have kept the Fortress at home solid. I wanted to win against Canberra to keep Mount Smart. You never lost the game at home this season, and then lose away to the Rabbitohs. I could take that. It's unfortunate it happened, but 3 away wins, that's the ones you want to start banking. I trust us at home semi-final that we'll get the job done over the line, how we did Knights 2023. I just think we need to nail our away wins as much as possible. So 2 away games here, massive that we do well in them. And if we can get 2 away wins again, mate, we can bank those and we can really start focusing on nailing the games at home as well. Yeah, I can't. I love the games in Aussie. For whatever reason, I'm not a big fan of watching at home games. I know that's kind of sad, but just from a view, I don't know if it's the Fox Sports cameras or if that's just the fields in Aussie are a bit drier and the boys have a bit more speed about it. Um, just see if we get a good run in Aussie. I think we'll be able to show a lot more against the Rabbitohs, but they are fresh off the bye. I mean, I know they got a few guys in Origin. Um, Bennett will have them up for sure, but if we're a legit team, we should go over there and be able to get a result. You know what I mean? Funny moment was when the civil defense warning went off on all the phones. You understand? And they had to stop the game for a minute. Yeah, I think my phone went off too mid game, and then I thought, oh, everyone else in the whole of the country will be getting those reminders. Okay, let's crack up. Cam Smith would always be really calm when talking to the ref. You can tell he learned from. Yeah, that's a great point. And we have a lot of winnable games come up for sure. Absolutely, we should be very serious about going away to the Rabbitohs and doing well. I think Raiders and us are probably the two best packs in the comp. Probably the only side that can grind us to the stalemate. Our strategy still works for other sides, in my opinion. Yeah, that's why, son. I don't think we need to get over the top about it because there are other teams that aren't as defensively resilient as the Raiders, and we'll find ways to get over the line. But what I'm talking about here is specifically preparing for a finals run. You want to be saying, okay, Vegas round one blew us off of the park, way too physical for us. Mount Smart round 12, physical battle. We more than matched them physically with our two best front rowers, and it was a tight game, and they edged us out. You know, being a bit more physical, a little bit better on the night. Now, when we see them in the finals, or say if we do, the reason we will beat them is probably because we're still gritty and still tough. We got a bit more attacking structure that we can break them down. Our halves have developed, you know, X factor players like Leka and Leotoa on fire, all those types of things. So you're seeing a progression from the next time you see them each time. Agreed. Stalemate. In essence, this game for a stalemate, I had no bad feelings after this game. I was like, cool, lock it away, take the positives, learn from the negatives, we move. So I totally agree with this comment. Is Bunny allowed to play the weekend after the of Origin? I think they are technically. Um, see how it goes, but he should be ready for Sunday. He'll just stay over. He'll just fly down to Sydney, I'd say. Okay. Who are the contenders right now? I would have had the Storm and the Raiders. Don't rate the Bulldogs and Sharks. Have been strange. Yeah. Storm Raiders for me. The Bulldogs, you're probably looking for a bit more data to say that they aren't legit. Sharks, they always kind of hang around, but they usually break down. Yeah, totally agree, man. Okay, guys, just want to take a break here quickly, just to let you know, as channel members and anyone that's watching, that we are having a event. Ash and I will be at Lily World's Cafe outside of Mount Smart on July 26th from 1 to 2:30 p.m. We are hosting an event at Lily World's for all channel members and any people that want to come along to have a meet and greet with us. Ash is making his trip over to New Zealand to watch that Titans game, which is on the 26th, which is why we're hosting the event at Lily World's. And it'd be a great opportunity. We want to meet as many of our members, supporters, and followers and catch up with you guys. So we're hosting an event at Lily World's from 1 to 2:30 p.m. on Saturday, the 26th of July. So for anyone that may be going to the game or who just wants to pop down and say hi and come hang out with us, we'd love it. Now, it is a ticketed event. The details are in the community page on the YouTube. So if you go through to my YouTube here and you go to the community page, it gives you the link to the event as well as a promo code to be used to discount that ticket. So for all channel members, reserve grade or first grade, you can go there and buy your tickets there. What we're offering is obviously time to spend with us. We're also offering a beverage, when you arrive, nibbles, food, and drink pretty much throughout the event. We've got spot prizes, we've got goodie bags to take away, and we're probably having someone coming from either the team or representative to come and hang out with us. And we've got some activities. So I think personally, it's going to be a great opportunity to meet all of you guys, and especially for Ash, who's it's his first time at Mount Smart, and I know a lot of people will be excited to see him. So so that's pretty much what we've got planned. If you want to see the details, please go to the community page. You'll be able to buy your tickets there with the promo code. But we're looking forward to seeing everyone. Mackie, yeah, bring friends, man. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we've got a maximum of 50 tickets. There's only been a few sold. So if you want to bring a mate, absolutely. Would love to meet all of you guys, especially in the Auckland area. I know a lot won't be able to make it from other parts of the country, but we absolutely pumped. So check that out on the community page. If you have any issues, email me, wiseuptv@gmail.com. Otherwise, yeah, we can't wait to see that. And we'll keep promoting it, and I'll keep adding information as I get it to you guys. But we absolutely pumped. But anyway, appreciate that, guys. Sniper, good to see you, my man. Yeah, Monday nights, man. Always got our member show, but great to see you in the house. Get back to this one here. Do we need more players? Do we need more players for other players? It feels like we have 4 to 5 plays. What is that? That sounds like a riddle. Aye. I think we need a bit of everything, don't we? I mean, we need a bit of, a little bit of, I'm looking at Bunty R4 and just thinking, like, there needs to be a little bit of development there for sure. I don't think in particular that, we could definitely do look, we're a fair way off from getting guys like a Toby Crosby as well to come in and be able to be an impact forward like that in that sense. Bunty, I don't think he had his best game. I think he was struggling to keep up with the intensity against the Raiders, which is, not a knock on him. We know what Bunty brings. So that is kind of the tricky part where we are missing probably like another impact forward. Mackie's saying, I feel we need actual 14, someone who can change it up, i.e. Healy. Yeah, and this was a big argument, and Rose, I want to give a big shout out to Rose because he made it kind of aware that, in his eyes, he felt that Dylan Walker was limiting the likes of a Metcalf, and I can see that. I could see that. I think Aaron Clark's been fantastic in his approach to out the back play. It's probably a bit more direct and releases the ball earlier to allow Metcalf to take the options. We saw with Tamaiti and Dylan Walker and their top, they try to play super late to make sure they get that bite in. I think Clark is viewed as probably a running ball playing lock, should I say? So run first option for him majority because he's great at that. What you're probably saying, Mackie, is you feel as though you need someone that can come in and kind of change the tempo up or change the point of attack. If you take the small sample size of what Tamaiti was doing, it did start to free up Metcalf for different looks. But the problem was we hadn't earned anything in the middle to warrant Metcalf being on the out the back shape in that sense. But I think we do need a 14 at times to change the tempo up to balance it out. Yes, you know what I mean? Team Mackie, sorry, missed this one. Yeah, does Lillywell know you're hosting this event? Yeah, absolutely do. We've teed it up with them. We've booked it. It's a private event, so it's definitely catered for and we've got permission from Mount Smart as well, who manage the place. So yep, it is definitely a ticketed and private event, guys. So we're looking forward to that. But I get what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying there. Sonia was saying Raiders blooded all the youngsters and used 2024 as their development year. I feel we're 1 year behind them, and it's actually quite miraculous that we are this high in our development. This is why, Sonia, I give a lot of credit for Webby as a development coach, a man that actually develops talent. And he's showing it this year that the development, the process they've been putting in the last 3 years is starting to pay dividends. And we, like you're saying, I agree, we're not quite there yet, but we're around the corner where you're thinking, man, those guys are really going to be fantastic. I mean, look at KO Weeks. That's another area which an understudy for CNK. I don't know, it's Tane technically. I feel, who is the next fullback? Is it Tane? Got no issue with that. But you can see like a KO Weeks has really developed, is growing in his development from the experiences he's having. They've always good in the forward pack. The Sasangis, the Mariotas are looking pretty good now. The recruits from the UK, the Smithies. We've got a Morgan Gannon coming next year, which is so. There's. I think you're bang on here. We're probably just a year behind. I always said 2025 was the year where you kind of really laid in your development programs and you have your structures. So that's how how I see it as well. Agreed, Celso. I think it was just a little bit of difference from our, and not to say that they would have dominated the Raiders. I think they would have brought a mental edge to say the boys, hey, stick in this fight. I think we lost our way a little bit, and it's no disrespect to Capewell as a captain. I think for the majority, bro, we hung on, and look, we started with Bunty and Morata, who aren't traditionally your starting front rowers. I think what the difference would have been Southside was the mental fortitude to know, guys, let's just hang in a little bit more. Let's not get too carried away. Those types of things. Thanks, Austin, man. Yeah, we can't wait for it, man. We absolutely can't. I think Healy has the X factor without getting in the way of Metcalf. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Yeah, and that probably, I think Rose was saying that too. Is that's probably where it's coming from. Yeah, I think that could be the trouble with having a ball playing like Dylan Walker and even what Tamati's trying to do. It's the overplaying of the hand. I think what was so good about their ball playing lock era with Tohu and SJ is that they just all knew that's what they wanted. That's what SJ wanted as a creator. I think probably the ball playing lock isn't suited to Metcalf as such, and probably needs more hands on the ball to be able to create. But it's definitely a food for thought, and I would love to see it. I actually have no issue, and for me personally, I'm a big fan of Tamati, but I don't think that works either. What he's doing right now, and totally agree with Sun Young and you, Maggie, that don't force something that isn't really working. But let's give Healy a crack at some point. Definitely, totally agree with it. Probably a tangent, but Fox League coverage was so biased. Brandy, Anderson, Cronk all railing against us throughout the whole game. So annoying. Yeah, I find this is my biggest gripe with Aussie media is its unbiasedness. What is it called? What's the word? It's impartial to teams like the Warriors. And that's always been a stigma of New Zealand rugby league. At the end of the day, I've always felt that the Warriors have been a symbol of what Australians have thought New Zealand rugby league is. Big forwards, big dumb Polynesian forwards that aren't as good and can't create. I think we've done a lot to change that. I think the structure we have now warrants the respect of Aussie media as the style of play that we're playing is a reflection of a really quality Australian kind of style modeled after Penrith. Surely that would warrant us getting fair and balanced analysis without all the the stigma attached to it, specifically the Warriors. So I agree with you, son, and that's sometimes I get put off by a lot of Aussie content. Exactly, Tay. It was a battle, man. It was a physical battle. That's why I've got no issue with the performance. In fact, for me, there's some performances that irritate me. The most irritating run from me probably was a Vegas one and the Storm one. And the Storm one wasn't so much we're getting high; it was just that I felt the ref was real off. G Unit he's six again happy. There's just some guys that love a six again. I don't think he could quite control the physicality of what the game was going through. You could see he was like constantly having to talk to Kate Well and typing it. Like, bro, I think for I think for someone like him, he was like, well, this is a lot more physical than what I expected. And he had to use the six agains as a way to balance the game. I think there's some referees that don't need the six again to balance the game. They can control it without having to go to the six again all the time. And I mean that fairly for both teams. I just feel G Unit is very six again heavy. Very six again heavy. Unfortunately, I don't think Tuo Picky is a long-term forward based on purely on size. He's such a great player. We shall see. Well, that's what I'm saying. Who's the next understudy for CNK if they're going to go that way as a club? Is it that's something that you want to look at youth at some point. I love CNK, but you do want to look at youth at some point and how that looks. Yeah, it's just a different model, Dom. Totally agree. But there is a need for a bit of a change of pace. Yeah, Aussie media is like a small town that don't like out. Yeah, I agree with that. Souths play like us, boring side with high percentage footy, but we have a bit of pack and cat at last, and they're still quite depleted. Also, we're almost back to full strength. Yeah, I think we're definitely in for this game. I think we can. There's just teams that we can battle and beat them comfortably. You know what I mean? So I have no issue at all with us. There's just teams and matchups. Horses for courses, different things. Where you just Raiders are a tough battle for us. And they always have been. Apart from the Croker 300 game where we absolutely overpowered them. Every battle's been physical. Took Golden Point for us to get over the line. 23. I think 24, there were some physical battles too. That was a game where CHT had some howlers of kicks that we should have won that game. But yeah, it's always been a tough battle. Yeah, it's probably a Lamana, I'm thinking, or someone a bit more younger. But you look at a side like Para, they've gone for a Yongi, straight recruit from Penrith, and looking to the future. I do think we need to look at the future as well. How that looks, I'm not too sure, but some of those positions like fullback, even the wings as well, you want to look at who the next big thing is, and I think a lot of teams are going to younger wingers, and starting to lean on their depth a bit. I know we're probably. Look at Penrith. They've had to lean on depth. And fair enough, they've had 5-6 year run where they've called on all the depth they've had, and it's finally broken down a little bit where the depth ain't able to cover, and they're just having a downward year. But I don't think we quite have that depth yet to be able to rotate and bring youth in yet. It doesn't seem quite like it's there, but we got some good starting points with Halasima, Dimitrik, and Laban, which is great for us. But we still need to look at some recruitment areas for sure. Brandy's an OG Warrior too. Yeah, a bit of a story behind his signing. A shame he doesn't have a. Yeah, I'm sure there's a bunch of players that haven't had a good experience with the Warriors. But shout out, it was good to see Lilyman and the OG Fish, the Beast, with Louis Brown on there. That was such a throwback, man. Good to see Lilyman, and I don't know if Rusty was there or not, but I've seen Rusty around Hamilton actually sometimes. But I still love those guys from that era. OG Fish, those cracker. It's good to see those guys on that little stuff. I love to see more of the OGs, bro. It's so cool. I get it, bro. I totally get it. We have the smallest pack in the NRL, and guarantee the Aussie comments would say, "Got it." Yeah, their research, their lack of research. For me, I'm like, how can you consider yourself a professional broadcasting program and your analysis and is so poor that you do not do any work to analyze the Warriors as a team. You know what I mean? That for me is just a bad reflection of your own bias. Queensland are biased for their own, and with Brizzy being the VIP and New South Wales are biased for their own. The exception being that nobody really gives Canberra the respect they deserve. Yeah, even Canberra. Teams like Canberra don't get the reps either. I totally agree with that. Jazz, good to see you too, Jazz. Our development is heavy on second rowers, Fatulofa, EIT, Bishop Neal. Our middle development needs work. Yeah, probably Freddie is being used as a middle. Maybe Labour needs to be developed as well. I think, yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's some areas where the development levels, the numbers or the frequency through the development numbers are a little bit low. Specifically, and we haven't really resolved this. Let's call it what it is. We haven't resolved outside backs through development yet. Otherwise, Ed Cossey would be a starter. And you're saying to yourself, well, Dallin looks like he's on the back end, right? The value isn't coming through. Who's next up? No one can tell me exactly who that's going to be because we haven't brought them in yet. So there's some areas in our development programs that aren't quite there yet, specifically fullback centers. Ali and Berry, yep. You've lost MGT to recruitment. You've lost them to the Souths. Who's the next run of centers underneath those guys that if you do lose a Berry to rugby union and Pompey, although he's playing well, you're looking to the future. Is he the sustaining center that you want? Probably not. You want probably a more explosive type center. Who's that next guy? And who is the development they're getting? Is it, I'd hate to see a Leatoa be pushed into a back row at some point. That for me is just laziness and not taking care of players. And I know, sorry guys, that sounds a bit negative, but I've seen that too often where we don't develop centers to a decent enough level. I don't think it's going to happen, but who's the next run of guys underneath them that can start to get a crack? Anyway, that's a bit of a tangent, but I appreciate Sun's comment here. What's one change to the 17 you want to see this week besides returns of fish? Probably question Dallin playing, but look, if he's the premier winger, and which he is, he deserves more time. I thought Tane's approach to the game is very unique in the sense that he's able to be effective in many different ways. Now, size is lack, but when I saw that poor effort from Dallin to not shut off Chris there when he had the opportunity to really close that play off from developing, I was like, that's just really lazy and poor, Shout out to Kurt. I think Tanner Smith would have been a good battle there to physically match him. That's the argument too, is that what you could have had a Tanner Style Smith and you could have had a massive forward battle between our forward pack and theirs, and you play less with a ball playing lock type option and you just play through the middle a bit more. That could be one option too. But yeah, I can't really see that barring. I mean, one change I would love is a little bit more Laban and give Lecker a little bit of a rest, balance their minutes out. But I can kind of see that. Yeah, kind of see that happening. It's a tough one right now. I think we've kind of got the best squad possible, and credit to our team. We've got a lot of health coming in. Berry's probably technically available. Does that warrant him coming in? We've all talked Pompey, and I don't think he comes straight back in. Yeah, Lewis Brown was really well to meet the members. That's cool. Yeah, he's still in good shape, Bluey, isn't he? He's looking. He hasn't looked much different. It is, Tay. It is unprofessional. Kahu Kappa, yeah, Kahu Kappa is for me is one that you're probably having on the books, and you want him in around the first grade team at some point. Yeah, forgot about Kahu for sure. Agree. Paul's research analysis of our team by some commentators, but by still saying that we have big Bob. Yeah, it's laziness. It's just pure disrespect and laziness. Dayon is one for sure that I would like to look at as an option next year, especially his pedigree from Penrith. But we need to start looking to the future. Totally agree. This is a bang on point. Bloke in the bar levels. This is why I think they're so credible as content through Bloke and Levels. They do their homework. They give the Warriors as much credit or as much flack as it allows it to be within reason. And this is much why we have outlets here like Wise Up TV, Warrior Holic, Warriors Fan TV, other outlets to support or discuss things in a reasonable manner about how we're tracking. So you'd love to see it more from the big guns, wouldn't you? You want to see Fox Sports giving respectable credit and analysis of how we're playing. But it seems to fall on deaf ears a lot of time, and it just continues to be a stigma towards us, and again adds to that Sydney centric model that they have. Anyway, and that's kind of how their media cycle works. Do you think the era of the big middles is over? Playing like Clemmer struggling in the first game, Manly actually have a big pack, but just get blown away by smaller mobile packs like us. Yeah, I think that is a changing element. I think the game, engineering wise, it's engineered to smaller packs these days. You look at how quickly even outside backs get up now. Like for example, Tane. There's no way Tane at his size 10 years ago or 15 years ago would even be allowed to get up as quickly as he has been. There's just no way that in that model, that old style model, that a guy his size, even when he wins a tackle by poking his nose through all that, they just wouldn't allow that in that old model. I think how they've engineered the game with the six agains and that, it's definitely, you just can't lay on the guy, even though you're bigger than him and more dominant. You can't lay on him that long. The game is just way too fast today. I just think that that's how the game's going, and it's going to be more of that forward that can deal with it. I mean, Payne Haas is that's your peak middle forward, and I mean, Adams dropped weight too to probably accommodate for the amount of work he has to do as well. So all these guys are losing weight, but gone are the days of the Sam Cassianos. The the monster men, they could move, but they were big boys. And I think that balance of size and that's kind of changed. It's kind of skewed its way, obviously. But in fairness too, the players are just fitter, and a lot of them can still hold size, but you have to be fit. And totally agree with that. Yeah, Clemmer is of. I mean, credit to Clemmer. He's been around for what, 15 years. And he's done well to stay in the game. I mean, when you're getting into that older one, just being in the game, even like a Papali'i, he's still banging on a limited basis. Tamalolo's still, these guys are still big guys, but they're still finding ways to stay in the game and stay relevant. Whether it's their contracts, for example, Tamalolo, but yeah, the game is definitely getting focused on that. Further to the fullback thoughts, Leon Senke signed 2 more years, so I have an idea of a youngster a couple of years to develop. This is why I didn't buy KP or money. Yeah. There's a Lemana, I think, who was in the SG Ball. I know he's quite young, Lemana, but I'm looking at younger fullbacks that could definitely be mentored coming through. I look at someone like Edemy 12. I think his build will be the new big bopper in the NRL, tall but lean. Yeah. I mean, and even if you're looking at Bishop Neal, he's on the path to being like a Nas type, right? But you definitely think, especially with Webby, if he wants to be on the field, he'll need to maintain that leanness. But he's he's a kid that you want to build around because he's got the X factor, he's got the intangibles that you want that on the field. Okay, guys, I think we're pretty close to wrapping it up. Really enjoyed the chat tonight. I think everyone's been real sensible about the loss. I mean, I know there's other parts of social media that are really trying to take a hit at the boys right now amongst our fan base, and I've had a few messages from people saying, "Hey, man, keep doing what you're doing. You know, I appreciate your balanced analysis." And this game definitely wasn't one that I was like, "Oh, we lost. Wow, that's the end of the world. Rubbish attack, rubbish." It's definitely um, I definitely take the learnings from it and move on. It's the nature of the beast of the NRL. That's why it's one of the greatest comps in rugby. Using the word rugby globally, it's one of the toughest competitions. It just is relentless. It's absolutely relentless. One day you're really doing really well, and then one day another team just gives you that extra 5%. They absolutely destroy you. But to our credit, we absolutely hung in there. We fought man for man with Canberra. They were a little bit better. It is what it is, and we move forward. But yeah, shot Southside, all good, man. Great to have you in. Justin Webby, absolutely, man. There's some Warriors fans who are emotionally unstable, and they usually end up in the comment sections of the levels. Yeah, again, you know, I've through analysis and the stuff that I do video wise, I've learned to appreciate a balanced argument. I've been less critical of refs as I have been in the past as a Warriors fan. And I see the game as being much more fairly driven in the majority. That's not to say that we haven't had bad calls go against us, but you start to see and acknowledge other teams for being good too, which is something us as Warriors fans aren't always easy to give credit, or maybe sometimes we're too easy to give credit where maybe it isn't due. But for me, the way this team is developing and the way that Webby's bounced back this year, I can't but help just think he's done a wonderful job. You know, he's absolutely been very, very effective at developing talent, coaching. You can tell he's a great manager, great coach, X's and O's. He's got the right balance for this team, and the way we got moving, none of us expected us to be here. Let's be honest. So I think we're just going to keep moving on in the right space. Thank you again, everyone. Thank you for your likes. Great to have you guys in here. Well, online fans make us look bad. Level was used a few weeks back to launch broadside on. Yeah, we got to be more reasonable. I think if one thing I think the ecology of Warriors fans. So this will be the last thing I'll talk about it, but I think a lot of the fan base came from, or definitely the people who Warriors fans, but more so neutral Warriors fans, meaning rugby people also watch rugby league and specifically Warriors and comment from a neutral perspective as a rugby fan on a rugby league team. Not to say they're full-time Warriors fans or hearty Warriors fans, but as a New Zealand team that represents us in kind of rugby league, they bring a lot of the rugby stigma, and it's obviously the success of the All Blacks and rugby in general in New Zealand. The way they comment on rugby league is that the Warriors just, how can't they sort it out? Why can't they sort it out? You just got to do this and do that. And I felt as though at times, because of that All Blacks, the success levels and all of that, they try to paint that picture on top of rugby league at times, and without realizing that this isn't like rugby union where you develop and you keep all your players within your area. No one, it's not a free market as such. It's a controlled competition in Super Rugby. Whereas this is a free open market. We don't keep any of our development players because you're not building teams of just purely New Zealand players. You have to go and compete with Australians. Then you've got the disadvantages within the structure of not keeping your talent. And and being poor as a developing club over 25, 30 years. So all those things have added up. Then again, there's another part of our fan base, I think, do get carried away or don't quite understand the what's it called, the ins and outs, the detail of rugby league. And it's quick, it's a black and white. We lost, we're rubbish. We lost, we suck. Get rid of so and so. Get rid. How many times has Pompey been ridiculed or whoever? You pick your poison. Whoever it is, CNK, Metcalf, the halves. Whoever it is, it's someone's fault, right? And there's that part of the fan base as well that we hope that we are fair in our analysis and it maybe hope and be enlightened, and especially you guys in the chat tonight. We know, and you guys love to talk proper footy. We need to talk proper, all that type of, we're here because we want to chop it up, break it down, analysis for everything. And that's why I know you guys are talking that. And that too, there is a stigma because we haven't been successful. We haven't gotten it over the line in terms of winning a premiership yet. That same old Warriors has been there since day dot. I'm sure if the club had won that premiership in 02, things would have been different. That's why it's so important to get that first premiership. If we can get that hoodoo off our back in the next 4 to 5 years, that will go a long way to changing that view of us from the outside. But we got to do it. We just have to prove it. And we've got this growing fan base of supporters that behind it. I know a lot of them at times are neutrals that want to go to an event at Mount Smart and look cool and up the wires. Yeah, but for a lot of us that have followed the Warriors for a long period of time, myself, technically from 95, but really the 2001 team on through then, I've been really intensely following the team, and we know how much it is important for those fans from that era through to now. We need it now. We need to get this over the line for our fan base and to build a legitimacy that can take us through the future. And I think we're close to it. I think Webby, what he's doing is making us competitive. It's all those things. We just want to get it over the line. So appreciate those comments there, guys. And again, it goes back to why the media. Look, in credit to them, well, not really credit to them. You should be unbiased and continue to be fair. For years, Andrew Johns would say the Warriors are going to make top 8 this year, and then we would bomb. Or we've impacted through our behavior and lack of success and our lack of consistency, more so consistency than success. We haven't been a consistent club for a long time, and now we are, which is great. And that has allowed for over the 20 to 30 years for the Australian media to label us because they predict that we're going to bomb. That's how we might be having a good run now, but the Aussies always think the Warriors are going to bomb. They're going to fall out. So it's up to us to prove them wrong. It's up to us to go and win a premiership or to go and show consistency that we're a legit top 4 threat consistently every year or top 8. And we just need to build that in the bank. Look at it now. They have to talk about us. Yeah, they still do their laziness, but we need to do our job. They're saying, I keep saying we have the most varied supporters, bro. The best and the hardest, and then the toxic, impatient, emotionally challenged, spiritually brank up. I agree. And I mean, I came from the rugby union view, that kind of view. I think that's one part of it. But I think there's also just a fan base that is just emotionally challenged and emotionally charged, like you said, Daz. You're bang on, man. And stay away from these people. Stay away from these groups if you can. Yep, and totally agree, man. We go again. We absolutely go again. But guys, come in tomorrow night. Been fantastic seeing all of you guys in the chat. we're back on with Ash. Ash will be in tomorrow night. It'll be great to hear his views as well. He's so he's so well done, does well, Ash, with his analysis and stuff, and it's great to have him. Can't wait to hear his thoughts. We're going to do a Origin watch along, so come along for that. We're looking at doing it with the ET Stand podcast, so a bit of a multi-stream, just a bit of fun. But you come in for Origin, talk a little bit of Origin tomorrow night as well. But guys, I'm really content. I'm really like I don't have any issue with anything. I feel we're in a good spot as a club as well. But yeah, thanks again, guys, for coming in. Just quickly want to shout out again, Hunter. Great to see you, man. Thank you for becoming a channel member. I'm looking for more of your comments and your views and sharing that. Guys, don't forget, if you do want to come to the meet and greet with me and Ash, July 26th, 1 to 2:30 p.m. at Lily World's Cafe, right next to Mount Smart. It is a ticketed event. You'll find the details in the community page with the promo code for $10 off of those tickets. We can't wait to see you guys. I can't wait to meet a lot of people. I've met a few of our first graders. I can't wait to meet the rest. But we can't wait to see you guys. But have a great night. Get some rest. Come in for Teamless Tuesday. We'll see how it goes. Is Barry back? Does he get a little look in? Let's do that, okay, guys. But thank you again, moderators, Tahi, Jazz. Thanks for popping in tonight. Everyone in the club rooms, stay safe. It's a bit wet weather here in New Zealand. Wherever you are, hopefully everything goes well. We'll catch you tomorrow night. Up the wires as always, and peace.